Next up is one of my most favorite sessions coming up, which is two brothers who are changing the lives of tens of thousands of young inner-city teens in Baltimore and beyond. One example, they've developed a program for kids to choose meditation and yoga over detention. I could have used that when I was a kid. They've also worked in drug treatment centers and prisons with indigenous people. Welcome to the co-founders of the Holistic Life Foundation, Ali and Atman Smith.
Thank you so much for having us. It's an honor to be here, and we're grateful to be sharing space with you all. I'm Ali Smith.
And I'm Atman Smith.
We're brothers from West Baltimore, and the Holistic Life Foundation focus is around yoga, mindfulness, breath work, meditation, and other contemplative practices, and bringing them to people who need them, who turns out to be everybody. We started off with a focus in underserved communities. We realized that these practices, actually schools in underserved communities were where we started, but then we realized these practices are applicable to everyone's life struggles. Atman and I got into yoga and meditation and contemplative practice as young kids. Our dad got into hatha from our godfather, who was our teacher, and he decided that we were going to be meditators. We meditated every morning before school. We grew up in a church that was based on Kriya Yoga, a self-realization fellowship church. And we also went to a Quaker school. So like the Quakers believed a lot about mindfulness and presence and taking a pause before you actually act. So all these things were a part of our lives. We got out of them when we were in like middle school, I'd say. And then got back into them as we were graduating from college, trying to figure out what we're going to do with our lives. We went to our godfather, and he was one of those people that got into yoga in, let's say, the early 60s and never ever got out of his practice or his study for that matter either. We told him we wanted to learn, and he made us make two promises. But the major one was that we agreed to teach as many people as possible once he instilled all his information and knowledge on us. We got deep into the practice. One of his major things was to experiment on yourself, be a scientist, and prove to yourself that the practices work. That way, when you teach, you can speak from a place of knowledge, not a place of theory, and you can be authentic and embody the practice. So we did. We practiced a lot, and we noticed that we felt a lot. We felt a lot of peace. We felt a lot of inner peace, a lot of inner happiness, a lot of inner joy, and a lot of love. Even though we're living in West Baltimore, a neighborhood that a lot of people we knew didn't really want to come to, but they had a lot of material things and they were miserable. But we had this inner peace about us. So we decided that was when we really needed to start sharing these practices with as many people as possible. We started the Holistic Life Foundation in December of 2001. So we're coming up on our 20th year now, and been doing work all over the place. We started with the opportunity to teach in after school football. Actually, we were offered to coach football at an elementary school for 15 fifth grade boys. And we decided, we went back to the principal and said, hey, can we do an after school yoga program? And things took off from there. We do a lot with the Holistic Life Foundation. Atman's going to talk about some of our major programs, but some of the major themes of the Holistic Life Foundation are: one, reciprocal teaching. We bring the kids to the front to lead the practices and empower them with the knowledge of how to use the practices and how to help other people. That way, it's kind of the way our teacher taught us. We want to create teachers, not create students. So that way, that if we go to a school and work with 200 kids, that's a beautiful thing and that's a wonderful thing. But if we work with 200 kids and turn them into teachers, then those ripple effects go out into the community and out into the world. One of the other major themes of the Holistic Life Foundation is the interconnectedness, getting kids to connect with themselves. They can connect with the outer world. You can't ask someone to love or care about or have empathy for their neighbor, for their friend, for their community, be stewards of the planet if they're not connected to themselves and don't love themselves first. So it's about that interconnection, connecting kids to themselves and then moving outward from there. And I guess the third thing is all about like continuing to help people throughout their lives. A lot of the kids that come through our program, they start off in our after school program, they go to our mentoring program, then our workforce development program. And then from there, they go to, they work for us. So a lot of those kids that I was talking about, those 15 fifth grade kids back in I guess this was March of 2002, that we started with, a lot of them work for us. So they're our staff now. They're delivering the programs, and they're also on our administrative staff. So it's definitely a family feel, and like we want to build community and see that community grow and expand, so we can bring these practices to everybody. And one of the, I guess another thing is making the practices very practical. A lot of the practices we teach are exactly the same, but it's just speaking to someone's life struggle. So if we go to teach a kindergarten in West Baltimore, and then we go to a private school in North Baltimore, or we go to an international school in South Korea. Like it's the same practices, but we're just speaking of different life struggles of people. So we got to be able to teach the practices in a way that relates to people that they can practically use in their lives to reduce stress, to increase joy, increase happiness, to decrease depression, and just a lot of other things that people struggle with. Mindfulness helps you, and the yoga and the breath work and the meditation helps bring you to center and help you find that place of inner peace, and you can move outward from there.
Yeah, like Ali was saying, I'll talk about a couple of the programs where we're impacting communities around the city, nationwide and worldwide. The first program that I'll talk about is our Mindful Moment program. You all may have seen a viral article where they talked about turning detention to meditation. Our Mindful Moment program is a school-wide intervention where at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, we have practices played at the loudspeaker. First off, people talk about, Maslow's basic needs or the hierarchy of needs. A lot of the students that we work with don't have those met at all. So they come to school with undiagnosed trauma, and it's hard to really get kids to sit down and focus if they are dealing with that trauma. So the morning practice kind of helps the kids get grounded, centered, get that restless energy out of their body, and ready for the school day. And at the end of the day, it kind of empowers our students to go back into the communities that they've come from, which I said is very traumatic. And also we have like an alternative to suspension room in there where kids, when they're in crisis, they can either self-refer when they're in middle school or high school, or in elementary school, they have to get referred to by a teacher or administrator. And during the time where the students come to our room, we have staff staffing it where, we're not counselors. So when the kids come in there, we actively listen and mirror to empower the kids. No one ever listens to kids, so they feel powerless. So having someone actually listen to them and be there present with them kind of builds them up. After we do that, and it relieves a lot of the trauma and stress that they're going through that's making them be in crisis, we'll do some breathing practices and some meditation and bring them back to homeostasis. Give them some tea. Kids love tea. You never know that, but they do. And then they go back to class. And that's usually a duration of 15 minutes. And by the time we're done, the kids are calm and ready to learn. So it kind of takes away from the distraction that they would make while they're in the classroom, and the teacher can continue to teach, the other students can continue to learn. And I think the coolest thing about that program is at the beginning of the year, our numbers are really high with traffic that come through the room. But while the students are in the room, they learn about stressors, how the stress plays out in their body, and practices that they can do to alleviate that stress. So, like I said, the numbers are high at the beginning of the year, but as the year progresses, our numbers dwindle down to nearly nothing because the kids can kind of feel where the tension is building up in their body, whether they're clenching their fist, clenching their jaw, or who those stresses are, whether it's a teacher or a classmate, and they have techniques to kind of get themselves back to center. And I think one of the coolest things with that article, the viral article that talked about changing detention to meditation, at the school that's in the epicenter of where the Freddie Gray uprising happened, while school was in person, we had 0 suspensions in the past 5 years. And that's a beautiful thing because, as you know, in that community, there's a lot of undiagnosed trauma. And, we've been going around the nation and around the world teaching people.
One more thing about that program, Atman, just one key thing to that program is the fact that we try to turn the situations from punitive to empowering. Kids usually get in trouble or they're punished for things that happen, and that just continues throughout their entire lives. We give them an opportunity to go to the mindful moment room and empower them with the chance to recenter themselves and go back to class to learn.
Yeah, and like I was saying, people have saw the benefit of this program in healing communities, not even just in schools, but we work in drug rehab centers, detention centers, and other communities that need support because they're going through a lot of mental crisis. We've decided to do a satellite program. We've been doing work at a Mohawk reservation in the Akwesasne territory for the past 5 years. So we've done a satellite program up there. It's the first year. that it's been established. We sent 2 of our senior staff to live up there for an entire year. We've identified 15 community leaders, and Ali, myself, and the other co-founder, we go up there periodically during the course of the year to give them intensives to teach them how to teach the practice, the benefits of the practice, practicality of the practice, and how to impact or empower their communities that they're working with. And our teachers are up there so the community leaders can get on the job training. And a lot of things, a lot of people who try to teach these practices think they can go to like a weekend training and come back and teach. But a lot of those programs fail because they don't have a personal practice. So another reason why our staff is up there is to empower our community leaders with a personal practice. So they practice with them 5 days a week. And they're up there teaching programs in drug rehab centers, schools, senior centers, and any and everywhere that need these practices, and it's going really well. And the beautiful thing is we look to duplicate that in the future. So once again, it's all about empowering people, being trauma-informed, trauma-responsive, and teaching practices that are healing to trauma. And those are 2 of the major programs that I wanted to highlight. And once again, we wanted to thank you all for making time to hear about our story, hear about our nonprofit, Holistic Life Foundation, and give thanks to the John Brick Foundation for having this event, and the Chopra Foundation. Thank you all, and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, and just another thing about the Holistic Life Foundation, we definitely want to thank you all. But one of the big things that we want people to know is that there is hope. Like the body, the mind, and the spirit are all made to heal themselves. People just need the right practices and the right tools. So I think that's what we've been trying to do with the Holistic Life Foundation, is give people skills and tools for wholeness and wellness, and inner peace that can kind of reverberate out into their lives. So, we've done a lot of work in drug treatment facilities, in detention, mental crisis facilities, and the practices work no matter across the board. It's just a matter of introducing them to a people in a way that you can engage them and show them how they're practical and help with their life struggles. But again, we are meant to heal. We just need the right practices, and that's what the Holistic Life Foundation is about bringing.
And there is hope.